Hey friends, welcome to episode 568 of the My 123 Cents podcast. I am Kevin Huntsberger, and I apologize in advance for missing the obvious 5, 6, 7 joke on last week's podcast. If Chad, I know you're not hip and cool, but the kids these days are making jokes out of 6, 7. I still haven't fully caught on with it, but apparently it's a thing, and I missed out on it last week. So,
It's
are you
it's
familiar
still a
with six,
thing.
seven?
I mean, I've heard of it, but I thought it was like 6 months ago. I thought kids were already past it. And
No, but they're still. I mean, I've still seen it on TikTok and
I don't know. Yeah, I don't watch TikTok, so I know you keep sending me reels on TikTok, and I take like 6 weeks to watch them because I still don't understand TikTok.
I've tempered
I'm
the amount
old.
of stuff I send to you on TikTok and just keep it mostly now to Instagram because I know
Yeah.
that's where you're
Okay.
at. So
Exactly. But real quick, speaking 568, been promoting 615 or 618.
six
Um,
one nine, six one
619. Sorry, 618. You should get somebody from, you should get, I don't know, Axe Allward to be on the show.
There you
615,
go.
you should get Jeff Jarrett to be on the show. But I just realized you missed trying to get Francine on the show for 469.
Did you not? I guess you didn't watch episode 469.
I probably
I,
don't
I did.
remember it.
I did actually make reference to it.
Oh,
Um, yeah,
dang.
I
Shows I
did
don't watch
not
the show.
because I thought it might be a little, in 2025 or 2024
Yeah.
when episode 469 dropped, but I was afraid of cancel culture and being a douche about it, so I politely or quietly laughed at the joke and then rolled on. I think I mentioned it on that episode. I don't remember now, but
Yeah.
so yeah, no, that was a good
Yeah.
opportunity. I'll have to think about 573 because that is the Cape Girardeau area code. So
Oh,
maybe I can get someone from Cape Championship Wrestling that is now defunct, but maybe we'll find someone. You mentioned Axe Allward. He is actually from that area, so maybe
oh,
maybe he'll be my guest. Speaking of Axe, he and many others return this Friday night. If you're listening the week this show drops, October 10th at Crab Orchard High School. So be sure to check that out. It is Stride Pro Wrestling. The return, just one night only. Go check out that podcast from last week, episode 567. So. Enough podcast number talk. We're going to talk about John Cena in just a little bit, his last match, and kind of some fan theory and speculation, and maybe even some of our own fantasy booking, if you will. But before we get there, in October, I typically like to do Halloween themed shows, but I don't know that those always age as well because it is more, of that time. So we're going to just do some Halloween games this month, I think, where we do
okay.
blind rankings and other things. And Chad, if you have any ideas along the way, throw them out. But we're going to do a blind ranking where I ask Chad, I give him 5 different wrestlers, and he's going to blind rank them. And this one probably is kind of lame, but I didn't really have any other ideas. So we're going to go with the 5 scariest wrestlers. And I'm going to let you decide in your mind, is this like supernatural scary, like The Undertaker, or is this kind of the hokey, silly scariness? Because I think there are 2 different kinds of scary when it comes to wrestling. And maybe as we became adults, they weren't as scary psychological versus like the silliness of a boogeyman or
Mhm.
versus they say a Cactus Jack, different levels of scary. So, and I've got a mix of those on here just to give you a fair warning, so you can decide who you feel is the scariest of these 5 wrestlers. So you're going scariest to least scary, and we're going to
Okay.
start off since it is the anniversary of his debut. We were both there for it. Kane, and we'll go with the original Kane, the
Mhm.
Hellfire and Brimstone's version of the character.
Mm, I mean, he was very intimidating when he first came out until he learned to speak, because I think all mutes are a little frightening. I mean, since we're starting off, I'm gonna put him at 3, just to give us a baseline.
Alrighty, a baseline at number 3 for Kane. Number or the next one from the jungle of Uganda, Kamala.
I
And
guess
obviously
the
before he met Slick and learned how to bowl.
yes. I was gonna say this one depends on which era of Kamala you're in. If you go back to WCW, I think he was more of the Ugandan headhunter type native, whereas in WWE he was more of the simpleton uh, person. So even amount, I'm going to say a four.
4. Alrighty.
Yeah.
Next one, the late great Bruiser Brody.
He was one
You
of
remember much of Brody?
we've talked about it before. I got into wrestling. I think when was he his ill-fated trip to Puerto Rico?
1988.
Okay, so I was watching wrestling prior to that, but I think WWF took over the wrestling at the Chase spot. I think
Yeah,
around 85, 84, 85.
yeah.
So my knowledge of Bruiser was very limited. But he was, when you're discussing what makes somebody scary, he was one of the top two guys that I was thinking of. So I'm going to put him at number one based
Number
on
1.
reputation. Yeah,
Alrighty, I like it. All right, this next one, we saw him at WrestleMania. He's got the worms. It is the Boogeyman.
negative 200.
I
I'm going to get five.
I guess you're gonna go 5 with him. Okay, that's
Yeah, I just, I mean, he's scary in the way that I'm afraid that he's going to be on my TV and I'm going to have to sit through one of his segments, but I don't find him intimidating.
well, and I think that was, and that's where I was kind of going with having this mix because I think,
Mm,
back in the day, at that WrestleMania era, because I believe didn't he wrestle Booker T or King Booker and Queen
and
Charmella
Sherman,
when we saw him at WrestleMania? And they were like legitimately scared of him, and I guess maybe as adults we didn't view it the same way as a kid would view it. I don't know, but he
yeah.
was also a face, so it's kind of hard to be a scary face. I think maybe I'm wrong on that. I guess the Undertaker and Kane were able to pull it off, but
Yeah.
it's a talent for sure. The last one obviously is going to be number 2, but that is the Fiend Bray Wyatt.
I think number two fits perfectly in there because
Yeah.
yeah. I was thinking my other number one potential pick would have been New Jack, and that would have just
Mm.
been
Yeah.
someone who you don't want to meet. Although,
Yeah.
I did meet him at a TNA show. He was very nice. I remember we were standing outside the Nashville Fairgrounds and we took a photo. And then, it was like a little after 9 o'clock, and the flash didn't go off. And he was just like, "You got to take that again. Otherwise, are you going to see his eyes and teeth? Come on."
Well, and that's a good, again, he's one of those that's not the over-the-top horror movie
Mm.
character. He is one of those real life, you know,
Psychos. Yeah.
yeah, this guy is going to beat your ass and
Not feel guilty about it. Yeah.
exactly. And I believe back, in 2020, during those COVID years, I did a whole 31-day series
Mhm.
on TikTok of the scariest wrestlers, and New Jack was on the. I think actually, I don't remember. I don't think I had Boogeyman on there, but I think all the rest of these individuals were. So, but yeah, I think you're right about it being down to the era of when you're watching.
Mhm.
Because obviously Kamala in those early days, I agree, was from I think world class and Memphis, where the gimmick actually started. They had that all down right. I think with kind of I believed. I really thought that this guy was from Uganda and was
Mhm.
this savage. And then obviously, as you get a little older and they're all playing characters, if you will. Uh, but yeah, it was a well done, and Kamala is amongst my. If I did a Mount Rushmore of gimmicks, which we'll probably do at
Mhm.
some point here on the show too, Kamala is definitely on mine. But going back on Brody as well,
Mhm.
I grew up again in a house that watched uh, wrestling at the Chase. Even before I was a fan, I knew who Bruiser Brody was. So he's just one of those guys that I will never forget the impact. And one of the very first shows I went to, it was Brody versus Ric Flair in the main event. So uh,
Mhm.
I have a fondness for Bruiser Brody and always wonder what would have happened had he jumped to the WWF. I think, in that era, he would have obviously been cartoonified and
Mhm.
made into one of the many giants that Hulk Hogan slayed through the years, which I don't think is a bad thing. Look at Kamala and
Mhm.
Big John Studd and Andre. Those guys all became household or at least higher echelon wrestling fans where they knew who they were. They had action figures and all probably were compensated pretty well for that. So,
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, good list. Thank you for participating and playing. And like I said, hopefully all month long we'll do more of these blind rankings or some sort of Halloweenish kind of game to go along with it. Speaking of Halloween, do you know, is WWE doing the Halloween Havoc this month like they've done the last few years on NXT?
I would think so, but I
I know
don't
they're
know. I
busy
know
with
they've
the invasion thing now.
Showdown. Can't call it invasion.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, because
or
is that because of where it's being held, or is that something?
no, I think it's because of the date that it's being held on.
Oh, gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Which I mean, I'm going to derail the conversation right
oh,
now,
that
but how do you feel about the big NXT versus ex WWE invasion storyline? I know I said invasion when we just said we can't do say invasion, but
showdown.
showdown.
I mean, honestly, I don't get CW.
Mhm.
I'm really just staying up to date based on the social media clips that I see.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's interesting because it is a lot. It's almost kind of reminiscent though of the original, or I don't say original, but the
Yeah.
invasion angle from 2001. There were a lot of there had the potential of having a lot of
Yeah. Yeah. When your final team at Survivor Series is made up of four out of the five guys, I believe had been in WWF for,
right. Yeah.
over a year. Yeah.
So
Um,
it does make it, and that whole angle too with even Team WWE. Chris
mhm.
Jericho was on that, and
Mhm.
I think he had only been in the WWF 2 years at that point, and people still associated, or you could have made the argument for him being Team WC. Like it would have made more sense for him to be Team WCW than Kurt Angle
Yeah.
at the time. But I think if we had a magic wand and we could have made things, I don't know. Do you delay the invasion angle until all of those big name guys were through with their contract? Because I don't blame Hulk Hogan and Kevin Nash and Ric
Mhm.
Flair for staying at home and cashing their checks. Um, did WWF rush that whole angle? Because Booker T eventually became, but he wasn't at the time. I don't think he was on that same plane as, I think obviously became the most successful star to come from WCW to the
Mhm.
WWF in that invasion timeline.
Yeah.
DDP and Booker T, though, I don't think were solid enough to carry that storyline. They needed Goldberg or Nash or Hall or Hogan or Flair or Sting or Steiner
I
to help.
I would say I think they probably need a Goldberger Sting because those are two WCW
Yeah,
guys. If you brought in Hogan, Nash, Hall, those were WWF guys still. Like, I mean, they had the connection to WWF to
yeah,
where, you know, um, I think the problem was just the fact that WCW never got the upper hand. And ECW, and even when you add ECW in, like they were all treated as less than. And
yeah,
I like DDP and Booker T, who were, world champions, just were, you bring in DDP and make him a stalker of the Undertaker when we all know that DDP at the time was married to Kimberly. Like it just didn't make sense in that storyline aspect. And DDP just felt disconnected from the whole invasion aspect of it.
yeah.
So I think, and it would be great if Bruce Pritchard could give a full and honest telling of what the mindset was and the thinking of that time. But I think there were a lot of issues with the way it was done. I do think maybe it was rushed. And then, when you have the first WCW match, which was Buff versus Booker T, um, again, I don't think Buff was in a position to be a star player. He
Hmm.
and you do it in an area that WCW wasn't popular.
Right.
They did it in, I believe, in Oregon or Washington. And again, for the 4 years, WWF had talked about how bad WCW was. You don't expect and then you expect your fans to care about these guys that you've been burying already. So,
I think one thing I've learned through the years is there is a stark difference between being a WWE fan and being a wrestling fan.
I agree.
That's not knocking anybody's preferences or
No.
personalities, but I do think, I've gone back and I've listened to some of I actually went back and listened to an old, I don't know, I know you don't keep up with the podcast world, but Bruce Pritchard hasn't been on Something to Wrestle With since November of last
Mm.
year. And JBL has been the
Mm.
temporary slash permanent replacement host. And Bruce is supposedly coming back. But anyway, and I've grown to actually like JBL. I wasn't crazy about JBL ever as a wrestler, except for when he
Mm.
was in the APA. But, listening to him on this podcast, it has been very interesting and very telling. But I miss Bruce. And so I went back and listened to an old episode, and it actually happened to be the WrestleMania 8
18.
episode. No,
Oh,
the WrestleMania 8, but they had referenced some of the invasion stuff
mm.
in that podcast for whatever reason. But anyway, you know, because they were talking about Ric Flair being in the WWF at the time
Mm.
of WrestleMania 8 and how, you and I were diehard fans. We knew who Ric Flair was, but there was the segment of the population who didn't
Mm.
know who Ric Flair was. And it's not because they weren't fans of wrestling, but they were more into that WWF program.
Mm.
And that's why the whole Hogan Flair main event never happened at WrestleMania. And there's all kinds of other reasons, but it is interesting to me that by the time that the invasion happened, WCW had proven itself.
Mm.
They were uh, killing WWF at one point in the ratings, WWE in the ratings. So to say that people didn't know who DDP or Booker T or Buff Bagwell were, I think is a flimsy argument at this point. And I'm curious to see what will happen if WWE buys or I guess TKO buys TNA.
Mm.
And what happens there? Does this talent come in? Do they keep it separate? Like I think WWE is a not a full owner of AAA now.
Right.
Will they keep that? Because I'll be honest, I like the injection of Omos and
Mm.
Nick and some of the WWE talent into AAA because AAA is not, and it's no, I don't have the time to watch another wrestling company, but I will watch the highlights and the clips if it's coming through my feed. I'm not
Right.
going to necessarily seek those out without, it's to me, it's like kind of going and seeing a band, a concert, and if it's a band I'm not familiar with, but they're going to play a couple of cover tunes, then yeah, I'm going to be more inclined to listen because it's something I'm familiar with, and I'm just at that point in my life where that's the
Mm.
way it is. So yeah, I will watch and see, but I like that they've still kind of kept it, which I think at one point they had talked about doing with WCW, making WCW an individual brand
Mm.
still under the WWF or WWE umbrella. If they do this with TNA, I hope they kind of go the route that they've done with AAA so far, but then also give that TNA talent, especially the homegrown talent. And I'm not talking about the Matt Cardonas of the world, but the folks that are at TNA that started there that have, because AJ Styles, you can make the argument where, well, he could jump and help Team TNA. But again, I'm not following the angle closely enough to see
Mm.
where it's headed or what they're doing with it. But do you think WWE will purchase TNA at some point?
I wouldn't be surprised, but I would think maybe they would do like with what they've done with AAA, where they don't buy it outright, but they become a stakeholder.
Uh-huh.
Um, I just, other than owning more of the wrestling promotion, I don't see what's in it for WWE. I think, and it's been what, almost a year now that the agreement between the two companies has been going on, and I personally don't see what. I guess TNA is getting some publicity out of it or
Mhm.
knowledge, but when it comes to, I think their women's champion is an NXT wrestler, their heavyweight champion is an NXT wrestler. Like, I don't, as a TNA fan, I would be upset that they seem to be ending up on the short end of the stick
Yeah.
all the time. Again, we go back to the original invasion, and that's where WCW was.
Right.
Booker T is a 5-time champion, and he comes in and immediately loses to The Rock. And The
Hmm.
Rock's the WCW champion. And so, um, yeah, I just, you know, it, WWE has taken Jordan Grace from
Right.
TNA. Um, Allegedly, supposedly, possibly Joe Hendry will be joining WWE as soon as his contract is up. And he's another one that I'm like, I think the hype was bigger than the actual results. Like I think he was more viral around WrestleMania time than he is now.
Oh,
But
sure.
but again, I don't watch TNA on a weekly basis. I don't have CW, so I'm not watching NXT. So like you, I'm just keeping up through online stuff, and I
Hmm.
don't. So maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, and all I know is NXT gets better ratings than I guess all the other shows. So NXT is the best because that's what ratings mean.
Yeah, that's what they say. That's what they
Yep.
say.
That's why 2.5 Men is the greatest show ever on television.
Ugh, wow. Okay. On that note, we're going to switch over to our boy, our man of the hour, our man of the topic of discussion, John Cena. Do a little fantasy, do a little reality here with John Cena. Obviously, I think we are, as we are recording this, four more appearances from John Cena. Let me start off with this. Do you think December 13th is it? Are we done with John Cena as a wrestler on December 13th, 2025, Saturday night's main event?
I think so. I mean, that's what they've been building up. I have my issues with WWE's promotion in the past of Cena and Rock at WrestleMania 28 being one time only or once in a lifetime. And then we got the same match a year later that I got to pay again to
Hmm.
see. Uh, but I think the way see, I think Cena's career has just been, right now he's busy with all of his filming projects.
Yeah,
I don't think he's got the time necessarily to devote to. I mean, I would think that he would want to go out at WrestleMania, but
right. Movie
if this
schedules
is,
may not dictate that, right?
yeah, maybe schedules may not dictate it, and also it's just like you in at the end of the year and you're done and you move on into 2026 as a new chapter in life. So I think Saturday night's main event will be the last, not the last time we see John Cena, but the
Right.
last match of John
Yeah.
Cena.
Yeah, because there's been speculation that The Rock somehow gets involved in this, and then we get
Mm-hmm.
Rock Cena at WrestleMania 20 or 42.
Two.
Wow. Uh, I'm torn on all of that. I'm with you. I think, and this would be WWE doing it to itself, not Ric Flair, because I thought the hype up and the build up for Ric Flair's last match, the send off and all of that was picture perfect. And
Yeah.
then, 18 months later or whatever it was, I'm not going to say he ruined that. Um, but man, I really wish 2008 would have been it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I feel robbed of it because we were still part of it. And at that moment, that was
This,
a magical time, or and
yeah.
magical is not the right word, but you know what I'm saying. It was cool to be a part of that history, to see the last match and then to see that amazing send off. And with Cena, and I think with Cena, he's one of those guys that I just feel like doesn't um, you know beat around the bush. He doesn't, BS or anything like
Mm,
that. If he's done, he's going to be done. And I don't think that the Saudis will throw any amount of money that will bring him back. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm with you. I think that December 13th will be it. Um, Let me ask you, let's backtrack to February of
mm.
2025. Elimination Chamber, and we get the John Cena heel turn. Um, Was the heel turn necessary? Was this a last ditch effort to try something different? How would things have been different? Would you have done the heel turn and kept him heel all the way through? Let me hear your thoughts on the heel run of John Cena.
I think the heel turn was an interesting choice for his last year because having announced that it was going to be his last year, you would expect the fans to be cheering him on his way out.
Hmm.
So to finally give into the heel turn adds a bit of I guess uncertainty maybe to that, but it's like, but then you're asking fans to boo him when they know this is the last they're going to see of him,
Right,
you know? And also the fact that he didn't change anything up about his
right.
persona. I think that was uh, not a wise decision because it, again, you're not separating heel Cena from face Cena. You know, when Hulk Hogan joined the NWO, he got rid of the yellow and orange and went for the black look.
And that's
Cena,
exactly, yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna do, kind of as a talking point too, is
yeah,
because everyone talks about, or when Cena turned in February,
mm,
everybody immediately compared it to Hogan turning. Um, and yes, it was. I was legitimately surprised by Cena's turn,
yeah,
but then it's okay. What happens next?
next, and
And
that's
they fumbled it, I think. I mean, and I don't think that that's being overly critical, but I think you're
no,
right. Had he come out as more of a corporate scene. It's kind of like when Austin turned, or when
mm,
Austin became babyface, and McMahon wanted him to become the corporate champion, and all of that,
yeah.
and that all kind of blew. Because he's still coming out to the same music. Did he come out to the same music, or did they tweak? They tweaked his intro, right?
His intro was just a black. I think they
Yeah, the
just black
Titans
screen
come with
John
the
Cena.
black
Yeah,
screen. Yeah. But besides that, they didn't do anything. And I
yeah,
do think that if they really wanted to go on, but then you go back, it's John Cena. He's still doing the Make-A-Wish stuff. He's still,
yeah.
it was just, and in 2025, 1996, it worked because there was no social media. And I do think that they did it much better with changing Hogan's look.
Mm,
They didn't change anything about Cena's look. They
yeah.
just, basically made him kind of a crybaby, which I guess can work at times. But the Cena heel turn project, I think, largely, like you said, it was a fail because of the lack
Well,
of
there's several things there, and one of them, first one, it'll be something I'm going to throw out now for a possible conversation on another episode,
hmm.
and that is WWE books moments. And
Right.
so they said, "Oh, Cena turning heel will be a shocking moment,"
Hmm.
but then you have to figure out how do you follow up that moment. And I don't think they really had a. I don't know if you've watched Unreal yet or not when they
I
discuss
have.
it. Um, and there's the speculation how much of it is actually real and unreal itself.
Hmm.
um, but the fallout then again, you know Rock turns or Cena turns to join the Rock, then the Rock disappears.
Right.
So it's like, did Rock sabotage the heel turn himself because whatever reason, or was there legitimate no, they knew that Rock wouldn't show up, be able to show up at WrestleMania, and they couldn't um, follow up on the turn. Cena also isn't there every week. So you're not getting a weekly story. You're getting maybe a month chapter at a time. And like I said, Cena, his reasoning for being a heel had some legitimacy if he'd done it 5 years ago.
Right.
But now you're like, oh, all the stuff that I've joked about and have played off for 5 years, now it's affecting me in my final year. Like it just didn't make sense. Um, and then I think also the matches that he was put into weren't what people wanted to see on his way out. And that's I guess where we'll get in with the booking of his last four is like, should he have been just having a greatest hits run, or should he have been putting over or wrestling newer talent, younger talent?
And let's talk about that because it has become And I mentioned it earlier. When I go to a concert and
Mm,
it's a cover band, I want to hear the songs that I know, not their hits.
yeah.
And so it's comparable, I guess, to an extent with this, but I know all of the talent on the WWE roster. You know,
Mhm.
the newcomers and then the folks that have been there a long time. And with John Cena, Cody Rhodes was a kind of a new thing for him. This incarnation of Cody.
Mhm.
We saw him wrestle as Stardust. We saw him as Dashing Cody Rhodes. They wrestled a few times, but as American Nightmare, white meat babyface Cody Rhodes, that
Mhm.
that was something different. But then we get CM Punk, we get Randy Orton, we get Ron Killing or R-Truth, which that was also
Wait, is he still with WWE?
he is. There's a new Ron Cena. Uh,
Mm.
uh, not it's not a figure. It's one of the I forget the company that does them, but
Uh,
they're pillows or the
okay. Have you
wrestling.
listened to the new Ron Killings album? Speaking of music,
Oh no, I haven't.
yeah.
We had
Okay.
talked about that though. We need to do a
So
Music Mania on that.
yeah, I don't think we do, but okay.
Okay. I'll trust your word on that. Um, so yeah, it has seemingly been replaying of the hits. I guess we're getting AJ Styles at Crown Jewel,
Mhm.
which I'm not even sure when is Crown Jewel. It's coming up
Is
soon.
that this weekend?
Okay, it might be.
I don't know. I don't have ESPN, so I don't care.
Yeah. Brock Lesnar, speaking of ESPN. So we've kind of done all of the major ones. But do you think it should have been because like you just said, we're booking moments. There are superstars on that roster now that haven't had this many different opponents in a couple of year time span,
Mhm.
much less in a what 8 month time span that we're looking at right now
Yeah.
with the Cena heel turn or the Cena return. Um, so should it have been more of a I'm going to work with and I'm trying to think of someone that's kind of at that level. Maybe Gunther. I've seen his name pop up as the potential
Mm.
last opponent. Should he have been working with those kind of talents in a storyline to build them up to take them to that next level? Because as much success as Gunther has had, to me, it hasn't clicked.
Mm.
I'm not on the Gunther page, if you will. He's a great upper mid level talent, in my opinion,
Mhm.
but I don't see him main eventing a WrestleMania. At least not yet.
Mm. He was in the co-main event of WrestleMania this year, right?
I am aware. And when I say main event, I mean closing out. And
Yes, I know what you
even
mean. I'm
even
being
night one.
sarcastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, I know you were. I know you were.
Um, and this is with hindsight being 2020. I think putting the title on Cena was a mistake as well. And they only did it to have him be the 17-time world champion.
Hmm.
I still think AEW should have brought Flair in and given him the title for a week just to screw with WWE. But um, I don't think Cena should have been champion because the champion then limits who his credible challengers are going to be.
Hmm.
And I think I would have rather seen, especially as we said, Cena's not there week to week to build interesting stories. Like this match coming up at Crown Jewel with AJ Styles, it was made on social media. And I don't know if AJ's mentioned it on Raw because again, I don't have Netflix, so I don't watch Raw either. But Cena's not there to promote the match with AJ,
Right,
you know.
right.
So I think what would have been better would have been Cena picking his opponents and maybe even laying them out in months in advance and say, okay, look, I have 8 matches left. These are the guys I want to face. And it's not a storyline. It's not uh, it's just to see, can I still hang with them or who's the better wrestler? Or, hey, we had a great match in the past. Let's relive it one more time.
Yeah.
And B, I guess kind of that greatest hits with some new tracks mixed in to keep the band moment. If he wanted to face Gunther, have him say like, "Hey, I've been watching you. You're great. I want to see what you got."
Hmm.
Um, and I think even if you'd had him face Logan Paul in that
Oh yeah.
type of situation, where he's like, "Hey, you've come in, you've been great. I want to, I want to get in the ring with you." I think fans probably still would have wanted to see Cena face someone else, but I think they could have bought into the Cena Logan Paul match more than, oh, Logan's challenging him for the title type match.
Right. And, we're in 2025. The world is different in terms of how
Mm.
we are consuming content and whatnot. And we had kind of, I couldn't imagine in 1989 if Hulk Hogan said, "I'm done, brother," and it being on a Saturday night's main event, which aired
Yeah,
at 10:30, Central Time.
yeah.
It was previously recorded. I couldn't imagine that being the end of Hulkamania going out that way. Now with streaming and virtually anyone can watch this match live if you have Peacock. And with social media, I'm sure people will be streaming it live via social media channels. They do it on TikTok all the time. Um, you had mentioned, should survive. And I say mentioned, it was a message that we had a couple of weeks.
Mm.
I was actually scrolling through trying to find the old message, but should Survivor Series, which is to me still one of the big four events, PLEs,
Mm.
pay-per-views, should Cena's last match be there, and then Saturday night's main event is kind of that like Raw was with Ric Flair's
Well,
last match. It's
yeah.
more of an appreciation, acknowledgement. Bringing out the red carpet and celebrating the career of John Cena. So where do you sit or stand on that idea of should Survivor Series, and then if we do Survivor Series War Games, is Cena
Mhm.
a part of the War Games match itself, or does he have his own opponent, or is it John Cena versus five of his past?
um, for me personally, I think I would rather see Cena have that final match at Survivor Series, being a big show, not being in a
All
Survivor
white?
Series. Yes, that would, Cena won his first
Yeah,
WWE championship, not heavyweight or world title,
yeah,
but first title from Big Show.
yeah.
So it would be perfect closing. I I would do it at Survivor Series, not having be in a Survivor Series match or a War Games match. Have him be, and this would be the pick your final opponent. Who do you want to? And it's going to be Baron Corbin, and you're going to bring him back in from MLW for a one time only appearance. And I would be curious. And this is totally off subject, kind of, but if he wanted it to be Edge, could they work out a deal with AEW to bring Edge back for one night? Although Edge is apparently filming a new show, so I don't know what his schedule's like. But it's those types of things that happen where you're like, can the companies coexist? For one
Well, and
night only.
that's on my list to ask about too,
Yeah.
is there has been that speculation, I guess at the All In, All Out
Mm.
in Canada,
All out.
All Out, Edge did or Cope did the You Can't See Me, and then I guess
Mm-hmm.
at WrestlePalooza, Cena did the spear,
Spear.
or
Yeah.
the amped up thing in the
Mm.
corner like Edge used to do, or Edge Cope, you know what I'm talking about. Um, and then and again, you read shit all the time, and you don't know what's true and what's not true.
Yeah.
The speculation is that Edge, his contract is up at the end of the year, and that he was going to jump back to, or Cope was going to jump back to the WWE and be
Mm.
Cena's final opponent in time for that December 13th cutoff.
Yeah.
Is there any validity to that, as far as you know? Have you seen any
I don't know. Edge
reason to
still.
believe that he could be jumping
I
back?
mean, I I don't know. Cope doesn't return my phone calls anymore. Um, so
Well,
I
I
don't
know
know.
you watch AEW every week
I
and
do. And I mean,
all about Tony's announcements. So have they
yeah,
written Edge off of TV? Because
Cope was written off TV after All Out.
okay.
Because Beth
Mm,
Copeland showed up at All Out, got, I think, pile driven by FTR.
yeah.
Cope comes up to Christian next Dynamite, says, "Hey, I've got to take care of my family. I'll be gone for a while." Then that's where speculation was, okay, his contract's up, he's going back. But then news came out that apparently he's filming the next season of Percy Jackson for Disney
Mhm.
Plus.
Okay.
I don't know. Again, I don't know what that schedule is like. I don't know how big of a role Cope has. But so I don't know. I would hope that if Cope was leaving, there would be something more done in AEW to write him off. I would have think FTR would have attacked him and driven him off instead of just saying, "Peace out. I'll see ya."
Yeah,
Uh,
these guys beat my wife up and now I'm leaving.
yeah,
Is how it feels, at least based
exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing.
on.
So you like he has to come back and get revenge at some point.
Yeah.
Although I think kicking out of three of their finishers and then pinning them with a soft hug seemed to be enough to get him over. I don't know.
But could there be an agreement?
Then
Realistically, would you ever see a day, will we ever see a day where a WWE contracted talent wrestles on an AEW event and vice versa? Are the
I
egos too big there, or could it happen?
I want to say, and this is probably the mark in me, saying if Cope went to TK and said, "Look, this is a good friend. I want to, have that." If Cena called and requested that match to happen,
Hmm.
I would hope TK would say, "One night only. Go." It's not going to, especially since Saturday Night's Main Event is not going up against the World's End pay per view, even though apparently WWE tried to move it and NBC was like, "No, you got this date." So if it was going up against an AEW show, I could see him saying no. But if it's not in direct competition, what's it going to hurt? You know,
But what's it going to help? What benefit does Tony Khan get from because they're going
good,
to call him Edge
good,
if he shows up
yeah,
on the other
yeah,
channel?
goodwill of fans. That's basically it. It's and showing your talent that you care, I guess. It's a good. I think it's just a good personal moment.
I
It's
don't
not.
disagree
It's,
with you at all. I think it would be
yeah,
amazing, but if I were Tony Khan, I would, because you do have a big piece here.
yeah,
I'd play a move and say, hey, we'll do this, but for the next 6 months or the next year, you guys can't schedule something on the same day that we've already,
yeah,
once we've announced our schedule, and let's maybe work together on. But I've also seen where fans, enjoy the fact that AEW has moved their events to the afternoon because it doesn't,
yeah.
those 6 hour pay-per-views are more digestible when they start at noon,
Noon.
starting at 6 p.m.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like the early, especially here in the West Coast, where it starts at like 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. I'm all
Yeah.
for that. Um,
You're all in.
I'm all in, and my bank account is all out.
But do you
So,
think Edge on a scale from 1 to 10, how likely let's do a likeliness of Cena's
okay.
last opponent. How likely is Edge to be even on that list of what we know that there are four more matches, or
Mm.
is it four more matches or
Former
four appearances?
appearances, I think.
Okay, so we know,
He's got Perth,
yeah,
the Chick Crown Jewel, AJ,
yeah,
and then I think he's got one more Raw appearance,
one more Raw,
and then Survivor Series, and
Survivor
then
Series,
Saturday
and then
Night's Main
Saturday
Event.
Night's Main Event. So there's four more appearances. We're going to speculate that at least three of those are going to be matches.
Matches,
Let's
yeah.
just, for the sake of argument, Perth is out because we know that's AJ.
AJ,
So we're down to three. Okay? And I'm going to backtrack again. Sorry.
yeah.
If they do Saturday Night's Main Event, final match, XY opponent,
Mhm.
then that's December 13th. December 15th, which is that Monday, do they do a big celebratory farewell? To me, Cena had a career that is worthy of celebrating, but has all of this already been like, will we get that big fanfare, or will that happen? Will that all come at Saturday Night's Main Event? And then we would have fewer matches, I think. But with it
Yeah.
not being on, I don't believe it's on NBC this time
No.
around. I think it's just on Peacock. So there's really not going to probably be that time constraint that we saw with Goldberg's last match and the cutoff
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. And rumor is that the reason it's only streaming on Peacock is because of the ratings were so bad for
Mm.
the Goldberg one. Or also because the whole ESPN switch over.
Oh, yeah.
I Again, I think like you said, with Ric Flair when they did the Raw celebration afterwards. I
Mhm.
think that's how you end the career. I don't think having Cena wrestle at Saturday Night's Main Event and then that be it. I
Right.
think you need, I
Yeah.
think the fans will need that closure to
Yeah.
really say, okay, this is it. Because if he just wrestles, leaves his gear in the ring and walks out, there's still that, hey, there could be one more match. There could be,
Mhm.
he could come back at Mania.
Mhm.
Uh, but I think when you get that final send off, hopefully that's it.
So likelihood that it's Cope or Edge,
2 out of 10.
2 out of 10. Okay. Um, I'm with you. I would love it. I think
Mhm.
that, when I think back on Cena's good feuds, great feuds, I feel like that feud actually helped create the rated R
Mhm.
superstar and Edge.
Yeah.
I'll credit Mick Foley in that mix as well. But I think that when I think of Cena's great rivalries, um, Punk, Randy Orton, Edge, I think it's those top three for me.
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar. We saw Cena get destroyed at WrestlePalooza. It happened. Cena always gets his ass kicked by Brock. Does Cena come back? And I guess this is a twofold question. Does Cena come back then at Saturday Night's Main Event and beat Lesnar to kind of put that nice happy bow on his
Mm.
career? Does that happen, or does Cena need to win that last match, or does he lose it to a Dominic Mysterio? I'm trying to think of someone else that's kind of on that Braun Breaker. Uh, does he
Oh, Grande
lose?
Americano.
Yeah, does he lose to someone like that to kind of put that feather in their cap, a Gunther,
Yeah.
to give them that
See,
credibility? Because that the last match dynamic is always an interesting one. We saw
mhm.
with AEW kind of go a different route with Sting winning, or did they win or did they retain the tag
They
team title?
retain the tag titles.
So he and Darby Allin retained the tag team titles, went out on a high note, and I have no problem with that. I think that Kurt Angle should have beaten Baron Corbin. I was never a Baron Corbin fan. Ric Flair, obviously, the stipulation was if he loses, he has to retire. But
Mm.
then Ric Flair's final last match with Andrade versus Double J and uh, Jay Savage, Jay Lethal, Flair obviously wins that one. I don't think Goldberg lost his last match. I don't think we as fans need that victory, but with Cena, damn, I really hope he wins the last match and fades off into the sunset as the hero. I don't know why. There's just something different with him that I can't really put my finger on, unless he is going to put over a Dominic or someone that they really are going to do something with. Because I think part of my problem with Kurt Angle and Baron Corbin was they pussed around and didn't do anything with Baron Corbin after that. So
Well, and
got
I
to be
would
someone
say,
they're going to do something with.
yeah, and I would say to that effect, my hesitation with Cena putting someone over is WrestleMania 39. Cena
Right.
put over Austin Theory.
Yeah.
And then, did it help Theory at all in the
Right.
next 2 years? No. So if you're not going to have a plan for someone, and again, this goes back to booking moments as opposed to having a full plan.
Yeah.
I think I don't think he needs to wrestle Brock because he's already done that this year. And I
Hmm.
think and the match wasn't well received from what I've read.
Hmm.
And I don't know if that's just because Cena lost or because it just seemed to be a Brock Lesnar spam fest. I haven't seen any footage of the match, so I can't comment.
Right.
Um, but I would, if he's not going out against, and he's already fought Orton and he's fought Punk and he's fought R-Truth. Again, Edge is that only last infinity stone on his gauntlet of
Hmm.
people that you would want to see him cap off the
Yeah.
story. If he's not going to be able to finish against Edge, I think the match needs to come out and be him saying, "This is who I want to end my career against," and and it has to be, I don't know if it has to be someone decent. I mean, it could be, I think as long as it's Cena's choice,
Hmm.
whereas, Angle didn't get to choose Baron Corbin. But
Hmm.
if Cena got to choose his opponent, even if it's Dragon Lee, you know, make it be Cena's choice. And then the win or lose, I think, I don't know. I still think you need that celebration, that ending wrap up, and not just be a match cut. Cena disappears. Poochie goes back to his home planet type
Hmm.
situation.
Right. So if he's, like you said, if John Cena decides, okay, I've wrestled my past nemesis,
Mm,
of Orton and Punk so now tonight or for my last match, I'm picking someone on the active roster who is coming up. My last match is going to be against blank. Are you thinking Logan Paul comes back and gets the win? Um, Does he
no.
need that kind of credibility? Is it someone like Dominic Mysterio? Is it Braun Breaker? I mean, those are the three like talents I think of right now that are kind of I don't want to necessarily say the future of the WWE, but I think that there's
Mm,
a lot of upside to all three of those guys right now. They've got momentum and power going on. Or is it a Seth Rollins where we know he's not going to win the championship, but that's another one of those feuds from the past that could
mm.
potentially rekindle. Or we haven't mentioned his name, but Chris Jericho. I don't know what the future of Jericho it looks like either.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Yeah.
Um, I just based on internet speculation and fan service, I think if you're going with a up and comer, I think Obafemi from NXT, or do you bring in Joe Hendry and give him that,
Hmm.
if especially if he's coming to WWE proper, then give him that introduction that way.
Wow.
Um,
Interesting.
I don't know. I don't know. I think part of this is again based on how bad the Cena heel turn was, and just the lack of Cena appearance overall. For me personally, I'm not that invested in the farewell tour anymore.
Hmm.
Um, so I because again, I don't think I just don't have the faith that they're going to do something good to end it. I think it's just going to happen, and then it'll be like, oh, okay, now we have Royal Rumble coming up, or whatever is going to be in January. It's like
Yeah.
they move on to the next thing quickly.
And I think, and I mean, we're already gone a long time here, and this will be kind of winding down point, but I think that's also the difference between if Vince McMahon were booking this and with TKO, and I know it's
Mm-hmm.
Triple H and the creative team that's there now, but I think that even Triple H is under, falling under that corporate structure of we're here to make money versus we're here
Mm-hmm.
to tell stories and entertain because it's been a whole marketing bonanza with the different colored shirts, the final tour of, the final stop in the last time you're going to see him in St. Louis, the last time you're going to see him in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Get your merch, get your, the green t-shirt in Chicago, the yellow t-shirt in whatever the color scheme was or whatever.
Yeah,
And it's worked. You see the fans and the kids, they've bought into this,
Kevin Owens. Yeah.
the figures that are coming out and all of this stuff. So it's been a part of a bigger much bigger thing than the wrestling itself. So to that end, I agree with you in that I agree, but I'm going to say I hope that they don't go that route of okay, it was Cena's last match. Hey fans, join us on February 3rd for the Royal
Right.
Rumble. We're out tonight, and I don't think they will with it being the magnitude of Cena, but I'll be highly disappointed, I will say, if they do, because again, I'm a 52-year-old man. I'm not their demo. I'm not their target
Mm-hmm.
audience. But I have, the last few years especially, found a newfound respect for John Cena. He's never been my favorite, but I tell you, just based on the personality outside of the ring, uh, and that's where social media has kind of exposed us to the other side of some of these
Mhm.
guys, and sometimes not a good way. But John Cena to me is one of the good ones, and I think he's definitely worthy of that big time celebration, like we've kind of both agreed upon. So I guess gun to head, who do you think that last opponent on December 13th is going to be?
Ric Flair, the final two last world champions go out together.
Uh, Maybe it'll be Charlotte.
Well, it should be one of the Usos. Otherwise, Rikishi might get upset.
That is true. That is true. Yeah, I really, and that's kind of what I like about this is the unpredictability because everybody's like, oh, that's so predictable. We knew that was going to happen. I knew
Yeah,
it's XYZ. So I kind of like not knowing or having an idea. I
yeah,
don't think it'll be like, because people are like, oh, The Rock's going to come, it's the final boss and it's going to be the final showdown. There's been no indication that that's what it's going to be. I think they have time. They have 2 months roughly to tell that story, but I don't see that happening either. But it'll be interesting to see.
no. I think Rock's too busy with his Oscar bait film, and um, I mean, I would hope The Rock would show up at Saturday Night's main event.
Mhm,
Just again, if they do any type of celebration, then I think Rock, Flair, you know, should be there.
mhm.
Um, but I don't think either one of them should be wrestling Cena. And I mean, it'll never happen because I don't think he can go anymore. But Kurt Angle would probably be like the perfect bow to wrap up the, because then you also give Angle a chance to have a last match that isn't against Baron Corbin.
I love that idea. I didn't even think about that. That would be because really, I mean, you think about John Cena, his start,
Mm-hmm.
it's Kurt Angle. It's that
Yeah.
slap in the face. It's that call out on SmackDown. I like that idea a lot. But yeah, I agree. I don't think
No.
it'll happen, but
No.
that would be awesome. And like you said, a perfect way to tie up two careers in one night. But then do you take away from the
Angle's last.
celebration with Angle's quote unquote last match too? But
No, because I don't think anybody would care as much. But then they just think, oh, too bad Chikara's not around because then Cena could go there and face a protractor called Right Angle.
oh my God. Was that a real thing?
No, but
Okay.
it should
I'm
be.
like that. I could see that being a thing. All right, Chad. So uh that's our thoughts. Chad, you got anything else before we say goodbye this week?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, totally off Cena's subject, but over if you have Tubi, DDP
Mhm.
just dropped a docu series called Change or Die, where it's
Mhm.
taking five people into his accountability crib, including Butterbean and Marcus Bagwell. And if you follow DDP on social media, you've seen probably a lot of the footage of the show, but it's 9 episodes. I binged it over the weekend, and that ending left me speechless. It was very shocking, and it's not. I mean, if you follow the Marcus Bagwell story, you know that it ends before this year. Let me just say, put it that way.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so that's not the shocking twist. There's something else that is even more actually like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened.
Hmm.
So,
Would a non-wrestling fan enjoy this?
yeah, because I mean, other than Marcus being in there, it's three other people that are not wrestling related. It's
Okay.
more, and as DDP says, it's not a reality show. They're not trying to kick anybody off. They're not trying to lose X amount of weight in an amount of time. It's just helping people change lifestyles to
Okay.
be a more healthy fit. And it's unedited, so DDP can um, throw out a few little f bombs at times, but I think it has a lot of heart. So
Nice. All righty, we'll check that out. Also remind you to check out the Out of Touchstone series on YouTube. You can follow Chad for all of those details and information. And again, thank you for joining us for this week's episode. Let us know in the comments who your scariest wrestlers are, but also let us know who you think Cena's last opponent will be. Thanks for watching and or listening, and we will see you next time.